3, 2, 1.
The most attractive quality in a young man that young women can't ever articulate is self-control. A woman needs to be able to know that you can control your impulses when things get really crazy. So for example, they want to be able, when you go on a date, can you control your mouth? Can you control your tongue? Can you control your eye?
You are not a backup plan. You are not a placeholder, and you are not a maybe. You are definitely not someone's emotional experiment. If he won't pray with you, if he won't lead you, if he won't honor your purity or envision a future of serving God together, let him go. Let him go.
The biggest problem with modern dating is very interesting. We had a women's summit. The young ladies all raised their hands. They're like, how many of you are unhappy with the dating pool? Every woman raises their hand. Funny. All the young men I talked to are unhappy with you too. So who's wrong?
Those seem like kind of select groups of people though. You know, like if you're asking women that are attending a women's summit, they might be in a very specific situation.
Yeah, I mean, like I would say generally I hear more complaints about the dating pool than, you know, like, wow,
I mean,
there's so many options. Yeah. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe
so I think it's more of an options issue, is that you could go online and just, if you don't like someone, instead of working through it, it's just, you go back and you start swiping again.
So what's the problem with women? And then I'll go to the problem with men. The problem with women is that many of them, have unrealistic expectations of the man that they want, a lot of them. And I deal with this all the time. Like, I want a guy that's earning $1 million a year and he's 6'4", and I want him to have a perfect jaw. And I'm like, yeah, that's never going to happen. How about, by the way, where on your list is like, I want someone who will be a good father or someone with good character. So that's like really disgusting, actually, that you just want someone that's like super rich and looks good. Like, why don't you want someone that's going to be loyal to you, not cheat on you? Like, oh yeah, I want that too. Oh, okay, got it. So basically you want like Ken Barbie doll, and then you'll have like all the good virtues. Notice they don't lead with the virtue. And a lot of things lead to that. But number two is women need to be very clear that we need to tell women more clearly that if you do not have children before the age of 30, there's only a 50% chance that you will have children. The most depressed people in America are women without children. People that say they are very unhappy are people, young single women in their early 30s without children. Who are the happiest women in America? Married women with children. I think that we've gone wrong here, that women should prioritize family and children way above career, that they should try to find their husband before they're 25. Having children, I believe, is a blessing from the Lord. It's the most amazing thing. You should try to have as many children as you can. Much more important than traveling to Thailand or having a big apartment or a bunch of cats. So young ladies, they need to be very clear about what they're expecting in a man and date with the intent to marry, and not just date to, have a good time. And quite honestly, both need to do this, but young women need to do a much better job of saving themselves for marriage. They need to they need to prioritize purity again. Young men need to too, but if young women do it, then young men will. Yes.
What do you think is the main thing men need to do to make themselves worthy?
The most attractive quality in a young man that young women can't ever articulate is self-control. A woman needs to be able to know that you can control your impulses when things get really crazy. So for example, they want to be able, when you go on a date, can you control your mouth? Can you control your tongue? Can you control your eye? Are you going to cheat on her? Are you going to have a wandering eye? Are you going to get drunk every night? Women can't always put that into words, but that differentiates a boy from a man. A boy is someone that has no self-control.
So I would argue it's confidence and ambition. And if you have those qualities, I think everything else falls into place, because you have to have self-control if you're going to be ambitious.
Sure.
To have a North Star that you follow.
I totally agree. Confidence is true. So you have to be able to control your flesh. We as men have very different problems than women, right? Different temptations. As men, we have problems controlling our flesh. That's why adultery is literally in the 10 Commandments. You had to command an entire people not to cheat on their wives. It was easy. God would not have to command us not to do it. And so when men are dating, if you want to make yourself more attractive to a woman, first of all, like demonstrate self-control. And also women want to be taken care of. I know this is like super provocative, but like deep down, they want a man to be able to provide for them.
Should a man pay on the first date?
100%. Like, what kind of a wuss beta male is splitting the check? Like, who are you? I would go into debt and scrub dishes before a woman paid for it. We're talking about like 24 years old, like serious dating, right?
I split the check quite a lot.
So I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you. You guys are great. That's incomprehensible to me. I think that's
To me, I thought it was a great financial decision. Of just
okay.
like,
So from your prism, I totally get that, and like you have really good financial discipline. I'm sorry, like I would be so humiliated. I
I
find
did
that to be
not
like the
care.
greatest beta male like
to
humiliation.
save money.
To like the idea that a woman that you're trying to court. By the way, that money you save is not worth the honor that you compromise.
In fairness, for your point with
Yes.
Macy, I paid for the whole first date.
Well,
and
hold
we're
on. Why'd you
married
do
now.
that one though?
I think I was at that point. I was at a level where like that felt like the right choice to make. But throughout my early 20s,
Was it because you
I was
felt more
hyper-
serious with her, or
I was also in a point where I was ready to be able to like,
financially?
yes,
Legit, I
Where
get that.
Early
Okay.
20s, like
I still think you should.
saving $5 here and there, I would do it. I would go
Okay,
to
so
great.
you're manic with saving money.
I am.
We have Blake on my team is like you. He goes in, he'll eat like the snacks for lunch to save money. Frugality is a virtue.
Yeah.
So we as Christians believe that there is an order of virtues, and above frugality is honor. And so we as men must lead. We must provide. Under no circumstance ever should a man ever let a woman pay for a date, or you should
Ever?
split ever. No circumstance.
Even on the third, fourth, fifth.
What if it's
What?
the
No,
first
no, a
date
woman
and you're
should
just
never
not
pay
into
for
it?
anything.
Okay, well, let me.
Period.
Well, let me. Okay, so
what kind of world are we living in?
Well, I agree with you. If I'm dating a girl, I would pay for everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. However, I could see for other people that might be in a different financial position, you know, you pay for 10 dates and then she's like, you know what, I want to treat you.
Well, that's
I think that's so
that's
sweet,
totally different. No. What we're what we're talking about is like, oh, we're gonna alternate. Like, well, once you're serious and she wants to take you out to something for a nice dinner, and you might, by the way, if you have the intent to marry, you're already like kind of blending finances. Like, I get that psychologically, but like if you're like, oh, we'll take turns. Like, oh, well, you know, you pay this time, I pay this time.
What's your advice to a girl who the guy she's currently seeing, he says that?
Oh, do not marry that man.
But here's the thing: I feel like they should always
break off.
offer.
Great.
But they should offer. They should pull out the credit card
The woman? Of course not.
just to offer.
No.
It's a nice gesture.
No. By the way, no. This is feminism. Feminism is that you have to be this like self-independent. This is not a nice gesture. It's you trying to be like egalitarian. No. You as women should want to be provided for. In fact, you should have an expectation that you as a woman are so important and so critical and so necessary and beautiful that it shouldn't even be a question that if you're in a date, now if it's a business lunch or like friend zone stuff, 50-50. We're not talking about that, right? Like it's all of a sudden you're like, hey, I want to buy insurance, or like, you know, you're going to, you know, I want to go do business. Like, it's totally different. I still think the man should pay, but that's that.
But see, to me, when I was dating, it would be a huge turnoff if the check comes and she just looks at it and then looks at me and looks at the
I
check.
totally disagree.
I
think-
at least want to see like I'm reaching for
No.
something and I'm like,
No,
don't worry.
I want a woman that wants to be led by a man. I don't want a woman that's all of a sudden going to be competing financially in a marriage. I don't want a woman that's going to be like, oh, you know, questioning financial decisions, or a woman that's going to be like, all of a sudden, no, the man is the leader of the household. The man is the leader of all the financial decisions. The man is the primary, should be the primary provider. Again, there's exception to this. That's all. Oh, Charlie, you're so sexist. Sorry, it worked for 2,000 years, for 5,000 years, and it should work again. And by the way, what we're doing right now is not working. Let me just repeat again. This is not working. But like this idea, if a woman on a date were to pull out a credit card to go pay for something, like I would be like, oh, so you're like one of those boss babes.
No, that's not what that's saying, though.
100%
That's
it is. Yes,
that
it
is no,
It
that is completely
such a
missing.
catastrophic turnoff.
I think no. I think
It
if I'm on a date and she reaches for it, like I just think, oh, that's really nice. You're trying to be kind here. You're trying to alleviate what you perceive to be a financial burden on me.
That's a
and so I
generous
said-
interpretation.
And so,
We're
but
bringing
obviously,
something to the table.
Yeah, and
It's
so
like,
I think
hey, I'm
I
not
think
just
women
here for
are
a
not
free
bringing money
meal.
to the table. That they're bringing something else.
It's a nice gesture.
I agree with Graham. I think it's a nice gesture. However, I agree with you. I think the guy should pay.
I think the woman going into that should have an expectation that the man takes care of.
But should she be grateful if the guy takes?
100%.
Oh, okay. Because
Oh no!
if
It
you're
should be immense
expecting it-
gratitude. No. The woman should be. You know what she should say? She's like, "Thank you so much for doing that and not having to put this unnecessary pressure on me because you've just freed me." That's what women want, by the way.
Freed me?
100%.
I would say to run.
No.
For like what? A
No,
number two at Red
By the way,
Robin?
do you know how many women are secretly miserable that they have to be as financially successful as men? A lot. Like a lot. It drives them insane. Deep down, a lot of women want to be mothers. They want to be wives.
I tend to agree with that.
Like, we have overcorrected, okay? We have a lot of women that deep down want to go be moms. And they would love to have their man come in and just grab the check and be like, no, I got it. And by the way, you know what they see that as a signal? It's going to be okay. When the bullets start firing and there's chaos and things start falling apart, this man is going to protect the family. Boom. Throw
Wallet
it
on the table.
Wallet on the table. No, even better. No.
Paying 26% interest on
It's
that.
got to be even more alpha. You go to the waiter before the meal and you just give them the credit card. It's not even a conversation. It's paid for. It's done. Like, you don't even allow it to be a thing that is introduced there.
I would agree with that.
I agree with that
full
too.
Alpha is like, you go straight up where you are like smooth move and the girl is so stunned and she'll be like, oh, don't we have to be like, no, I got it. It's done. Boom. Are you kidding? From a woman's perspective, they'll be like, that's the most attractive thing ever.
What other tips do you have like that? Like, that was a good suggestion.
Oh, I have a lot of tips. So for marriage or for dating? I have
Both. Let's start with dating and then move our way to marriage.
So in dating, look, I do not think you should have sex before marriage. I know that's a provocative take. I think sex is holy. And by the way, it's not just a religious take. I actually think that if you introduce sex into dating, then all of a sudden there's kind of like a dilution of what exactly will be the ultimate physical crescendo of marriage. So you can actually make a rational, reasonable, non-religious argument for that. Anyway, that's like a whole other topic that we could discuss another time, but I will defend that. I actually think bring back purity, bring back saving yourself for marriage. Okay, but other things is this. You should go on a road trip with the person you're dating. It's very important. So you should find uncomfortable, high pressure travel situations that's not just like flying first class to Aruba, and you should try to be in places of discomfort intentionally with who you are dating, and you'll find out a lot with that person. Number 3, this is going to sound incredibly sexist. I don't care. If it is a woman that you want to get married to, and she says that she wants to be a traditional wife, see if she's actually up to it. Say, okay, treat me, cook me a meal. I'm not kidding.
No, I think that's
like mess.
No. But be honestly, like, she says she wants to be a traditional wife, like, and by the way, be like, does she enjoy it? No, this is important though. Like, and then ask her. No, I'm not even just, is she a good cook? Be like, did you enjoy doing that? Like, and she like, oh, I loved it. I loved getting the ingredients. I loved looking at the cookbook. I love the recipe. I love thinking about you when I was cooking the food. You're like, okay, this is going to be awesome, right? Or otherwise she's like, it was a disaster. It was this. I'm like, okay, well then we might have a little bit, And by the way, I'm not saying that every wife has to cook every meal for her husband, but honestly, a lot of women out there want to do that. A lot of women want to provide for their man in that way. They want to run the house. They want to shepherd the kids. Going into marriage, though, I'm a big believer in premarital counseling. I think that there are several questions that are not answered when most people go into marriage that should be answered. And I might freak you out with this because I don't know if you did this.
No, we did this.
Yeah, no, okay, great.
I looked at every divorce statistic and we did everything
Phenomenal.
we could to lessen the chances of a divorce.
So yeah, money is number one, right? Who's going to handle the finances? Here's one that you might not have done that you should do while you're still in the honeymoon phase. Are you going to have an open or closed house?
I don't even know what that is.
See, it's big. So were you raised in a house where a lot of friends came over all the time? Or were you raised in a house where almost no friends came over?
A normal amount. It wasn't yet, open or closed. It was, maybe like once a week. We'd have like a play date or something like that.
Do you know what kind of house your wife was raised in?
Probably about the same.
Okay, it's an important question because I was raised in a very closed house, right? I know people that are raised in open houses and it's destroyed their marriages. You know the type where they're always having people over? Yeah.
That was my family, yeah.
Okay, so you get that.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were to marry a closed house person and all of a sudden you were like, hey, we're going to constantly have a stream of people and you don't talk about that before marriage. All of a sudden you're like, it's total chaos for a closed house person because they're raised in a place where evenings are very quiet. Make sure, this is another important, make sure that you get along with each other, that you really like each other, not just love each other, that you like spending time with that person. One of my favorite words in the English language is like. It's very unique. Only the English language actually has that. Do you like spending time or do you just love that person? That's because liking is like, hey, can you talk to that person 7 hours uninterrupted on a park bench if you needed to? Or is it just kind of like an annoyance and is it just purely physical? Other questions and other pieces of advice that I think are really important. In-laws matter. They really do. They shouldn't always necessarily be deal breakers, but boy, you should know the in-laws because, your wife will take the form of the mother more times than not. So you should at least get along with your in-law, kind of know the in-law. Children, how many children? When are you going to have children? Is it a priority? Will it be early? Will it be late? Religious questions. Are we going to raise them religiously? Are we going to raise them secular? Other questions that I think are really important that actually don't always get flushed out. How many vacations are we going to take? What type of vacations? Are we an RV family? Are we a go to a private, island family? Are we going to splurge on one vacation a year? Or are we going to do like 3 or 4? This is important before you get married. Last one, which is the biggest. You want the biggest of all. What are acceptable and unacceptable vices for our marriage? For example, is it acceptable for, the husband to smoke a cigar? Will marijuana be allowed in the marriage? I would say no, of course. Is it okay for alcohol to be around? If yes, how often? Will you drink on weeknights? Are more than one drink acceptable? Will we drink socially? Will you drink once you have kids? Will you drink around the kids? Here's another question. Will you watch TV at night? Will you be okay if, there's R-rated kind of sexual nudity that your partner is watching? Is completely off limits for your relationship? I think it absolutely should be. You should talk about that because some couples are like perfectly okay with it. I think it's kind of weird, to be honest, right? These are questions that honestly, all the time that people do not always flesh out before marriage. We have an amazing marriage. My wife and I, obviously it's not perfect. No marriage is perfect, but we actually like each other. We prioritize date night. We're actually doing it right after this tonight, which is awesome. But I find so often that people in dating don't date with the intent to marry. And when they end up wanting to marry, they don't even ask the tough questions before they get married.
Do you
some people are like, oh, well, years past, I would have loved to have lived in XYZ generation. I'm so grateful we're in this generation. I'm so grateful we're in this day and age because we get to fight, metaphorically, but we get to fight in the spiritual battle. And we get to see things happening that are just in ultra speed. And again, being a mom, seeing this, I love being able to tell my daughter that you are made, fashioned, and appointed for this time. You are not in the wrong time, the wrong place. You're exactly where you have to be. And the spiritual battle is, I know you guys feel it. It is so deep in the soul. You can walk into a room and feel the enemy. It's a wild time right now. And the battleground is for your heart. It's for your home. It's for your future. And the enemy is very cunning. But his mission is very simple. He wants to steal your joy. He wants to kill your peace, and he wants to destroy your legacy. But God gives you very strategic weapons. He gives you prayer. He gives you scripture. He gives you obedience. He gives you submission and holiness. But our life is a battlefield, and our faith even more so. And the enemy's main goal is to disconnect you. It's to isolate you from your relationship with the Lord and put something in the middle of it, whether that's you thinking that you're not good enough, whether that's any type of disconnection you could even think of. But all of us need to remember not to mistake God's silence for his absence and really know that, yes, we are all going through a unique battle right now. We are all in our own battlefield, separate but also together. And I think the call for all of us right now is very universal. And I've really prayed on this, and I see it in Technicolor with how different waves of things that are happening in culture and in society, but then also seeing it through the eyes of my child, is our call is for a revival of biblical womanhood. And that is something that is so important right now. And as I teach my daughter, you're looking at womanhood from the standpoint of how do I explain to a 2-year-old what womanhood is? I can have her obviously see how my actions are, but I'm not going to give her a phone and say, look at this influencer who's a homemaker that's making sourdough bread and is having selling shampoo and all these things. I can't show that to her because she doesn't get that. She watches Bob Ross and Charlie. Those are her 2 things. So it's but for me, it was okay, who are the people that I can have her kind of look to as a blueprint? And for me, again, it's biblical womanhood. It's realizing I want to raise my daughter to be the type of woman that is literally a little warrior. I don't want to raise a weak woman. I want to raise a little warrior who wears modesty like armor, carries truth like a torch, and conviction like a crown. Because the devil fears a woman who is anchored in Christ. He cannot buy her. He cannot sway her. He cannot distract her. That's what I want my daughter to be like. That's what I want. And so, to me, and I'll get into this further, the nursery and my daughter's room, my son's room, that's like a sanctuary to me. Being able to pray over them, pray with them, hear my daughter sing Jesus Loves Me on repeat, like that's everything to me. And I want her to be able to see and hear the stories of women who were anchored by the strength of the Lord. And I know that, a previous speaker was talking about Esther, and I'm gonna follow suit in that because it's important. I feel like we need to look at these women as a blueprint. So raise your hand if you're a student in college or in high school. Okay, good, great. It's important because I feel that for women that are called to courage in a culture of fear, that's when Esther enters the chat for that one. Because Esther's battle was not fought with swords, it was silent obedience. She stepped into the royal halls, not by accident, but by divine appointment. And she stood between death and deliverance in a palace that was not built for her voice. But she spoke anyway. You don't need to be masculine to be strong, and you don't need to be loud to be heard. A woman under authority, when you are a woman under authority, you get to see how God uses your life in such a powerful, beautiful way. And if you feel like in college you're in your Esther era, from the standpoint of you feel like you can't say the things you want to say, remember that your degree fades. It's a piece of paper. Your knowledge of everything that you gained is always going to be with you. But your degree fades, but your godliness does not. The opinions of your professors, they won't outlive you. They're going to come and go. But your faithfulness, that will stay with you. If you stand for Christ, do it boldly even when you're alone. And let your conduct preach even when you're silenced, and be found faithful, because although culture is saying you're not doing enough, culture is saying you need to own a business by the time you're 23. You need to go viral for this on Instagram. You're falling behind. Whenever you feel that, I want you to say out loud, I don't care if you're looking at a mirror, I don't care if you're writing it down. I want you to say, I am not behind, I am becoming. Do not feel like you're running out of time. The enemy loves to make you feel like you're running out of time, but you can always have a career. It is not going anywhere. LLCs will always be able to be created. There is a government institution for that. Like, it's not going away. You will always be able to create your own company. But children, family, your husband, marriages, that is not a renewable resource. That is not. Don't delay the eternal for temporary, and do not sacrifice the sacred for the secular. It is not worth it. And I know some of you, especially the students, are not even thinking about husband, kid, life like that. I get it. Trust me. I was wired at a very young age, because I was raised by a single mom. Never let yourself be in a position where you can't support yourself, and don't rely on a man. That was ingrained in me. So before I met Charlie, I was not on the path of, I want to have 6 kids and a white picket house fence. That was not my mindset. But this is how amazing God is. When you meet the right man, everything shifts. Everything changes. When I met Charlie, that was it. I could care less about the career. It was a beautiful moment. And that's why I just want to plant the seed of encouragement, because motherhood it's not a pause. A lot of people think it's a pause. In your life, it's a launch pad. It's not something where you feel like, you wasted your degree. You're not wasting a degree when you're raising your children with wisdom, love, and truth. That's not wasting a degree at all. And being a mother is incredible. And I know you guys, some of you aren't there yet, but it's amazing. It is so special to be able to see the world through your baby's eyes all over again, and to relearn things that you kind of forgot, and just be able to see that, again, the nursery's sacred. Mothers are culture shapers, they're legacy builders, and no government can outgovern a righteous mother. And no platform can match the prayers of a righteous mother. It'll never match up. And I never want you to think that when you have a family, that makes you in a position where you can't be what God has called you to be. It's the exact opposite. When you become a mother, that is what God has called you to be. I know a lot of you do want a career, and I respect that because I do still have my own, my Bible ministry. But hold it into perspective. I don't want you to be chasing a paycheck and a title in a corner office and sacrifice such a short window that you have in this time period. So just hold that in your heart, because if you build your family, you raise your children, then you can create your platform with a tender heart and not in the furnace of exhaustion. It's a special perspective. And so Esther's position, if you're in the boardroom, if you're in the schools or a social sphere, and you have it on your heart, if I speak, will I lose everything? Esther reminds you that God has placed you in those halls for a reason, and your voice was meant to echo in those halls. So speak. Speak truth. Because Esther did not fall, God was within her. And for the women that are called to lead during a time of devastation, you have Deborah to look towards for that blueprint. Deborah led when men around her wavered. She judged, she prophesied, she marched when others stalled. And her battle was to lead boldly in a generation that had forgotten how. This is relative to women who carry the burdens in her home, in her ministry, in her workplace when others won't step up, bearing the responsibilities that others have abandoned. But like Deborah, your strength does not come from yourself. Your strength comes from God who goes before you. So remember that, because Deborah did not fall, God was within her. For women who are starting over in unknown fields of life, Ruth is your girl. Read the book of Ruth. Ruth buried her past and followed Naomi into foreign soil. She had no husband, she had no title, she had no plan. And her battle was the ache of rebuilding a life with no guarantee. She chose loyalty over comfort. And you might be a woman who stands in that same field. You might be widowed, you might be divorced, betrayed, or starting a whole new life in a world that is very unfamiliar. But Ruth's life whispers, God writes redemption stories out of broken soil. And I want to speak to this for a second, because I know that after a breakup, or even to the single women in this room, singleness is not a disease. It's a stewardship. It's not a disease. And I know I've heard horror stories, because my friends have told me horror stories of dating right now and how it's a total circus. But hear me when I say this, you were never meant to audition for your own worth. Never. You are not a backup plan. You are not a placeholder, and you are not a maybe. You are definitely not someone's emotional experiment. If he won't pray with you, if he won't lead you, if he won't honor your purity or envision a future of serving God together, let him go. Let him go. You are not losing a man. You are shedding a distraction. Let him go. So if you are in this Ruth season, don't waste it. Don't despise it. Use it to strengthen your roots, to know the Lord more deeply, and to pray and prepare for the upcoming season. Because a godly man is not looking for a woman who fits into culture. He's looking for a woman who will kneel before Christ. That is what a godly man is looking for. And marriage is a beautiful calling, but so is becoming a whole and healed woman who doesn't need a man to complete her, because she's already completed by Christ, in Christ. Remember that. Before you try to seek someone out to complete you. Wait until you are already complete in Christ. Ruth did not fall. God was within her. For the women who are wrestling with the waiting and the surrender season, that's Hannah. Hannah's pain was private. Her womb was closed, but her heart was open. And her battle was the quiet ache of unanswered prayer and misunderstood grief. And for those of you in this battlefield, Hannah echoes your prayers. You're praying for healing, you're praying for children, purpose, and sometimes the silence feels louder than the answer. But like Hannah, you learn God treasures the tears of the surrendered. And so I just want to say an encouragement to the women who are dealing with any form of infertility or the waiting season for having a family. The matriarchs, they also dealt with infertility. You have Sarah, who laughed in unbelief, and God still gave her Isaac. You have Rachel, who wept with bitter longing, and God gave her Joseph. You have Hannah, who poured out her heart and her soul, and God didn't forgive her. And you have Elizabeth, who conceived in her old age. God opens wombs. Remember that. He opens wombs. So just wait for him. Keep praying. Don't despise the waiting, and don't mistake, again, the silence for absence. Because God is near even now, and he will see all of your unseen acts of obedience, and he'll weave it all together for something so special and so great, something greater than you could ever imagine. And so what God builds in the dark, he always unveils in glory, and he does it at his time, not yours, which is tough. That's not always fun. Does it on his time. But Hannah did not fall. God was within her. And then we have Mary, the mother of Jesus. For the women called to carry what others don't understand, that's Mary. Mary bore the greatest assignment in human history and the greatest scrutiny. Her battle was not only spiritual, it was social. Vulnerable and young, she said yes anyways. She accepted the weighty task of the motherhood to our Savior, and Mary's obedience speaks volumes because you might be dealing with an invisible calling too that no one gets, no one understands. The motherhood that no one values, the purity that no one respects, and the obedience that costs you popularity. But Mary reminds you, you don't need the world's approval when you have heaven's assignment. Mary, the mother of Jesus, did not fall. God was within her. And so while the battle rages, while all of you guys are going through your own form of spiritual warfare within your family, your friends, your sphere of life, if you will, what feels like a delay is often divine preparation. So just hold on to that, because it could feel like stagnation. Change it in your mind to sanctification, two totally different mindsets. I have to I get to. It's powerful when you shift those patterns. The hidden years, the years of uncertainty in the battlefield of silent faithfulness, they're never wasted. They're a refining fire, chiseling your soul so that you can carry the weight of the calling that God has for you. And one day you'll look back on the season and you'll be like, I get it now. I see why I had to let that guy go. He was a distraction. I'm married to this guy. I have amazing babies. I have the life that I've always wanted. You just have to trust. You have to trust. And while you're trusting, don't grow dull. Agreement without action is disobedience, and the enemy disguises bondage as empowerment. So resist deception. Revival is not going to come through louder politicians and more influencers. It's just not. Revival is going to come through the living rooms of mothers who are praying with their children, praying over their children, loving on their husbands. It's going to come through college campuses of you ladies that are students that are going to be like Esther. You're going to let your voice echo through those halls, even when they tell you not to. That's what you're going to do. And it's going to come through quiet prayers and bold actions of unshakable devotion to Jesus Christ. That's how revival is going to happen. So I'm here to say welcome to the spiritual war. If you're not aware of it, put on the armor, stand your post, you're a woman of the word, and when you feel isolated or unseen, go back to that blueprint. Ruth, Deborah, Hannah, Esther, Mother Mary, any of them. Go back to the blueprint. Fix your eyes on Christ, because this is not for the faint of hearts, this spiritual battle. It's not also for Coachella Christianity, where people are like, I'm just going to go with the wind of whatever the Christian flow is. Don't. No. This is for someone who is fixing their eyes on the Lord, who speaks truth in love, because you are not some dainty decoration. You are a weapon in the hand of Almighty God. And yes, these women that I talked about, they were in different times. They were in different cultures. They were, you can't really relate always to their context. But what you can relate to is that they said yes when they didn't see the full picture. They had no idea how history was going to write out their yes when they said yes to God, but heaven did. Heaven knew exactly what was going to happen. So I want you to take heart. Don't worry about the school. Don't worry about the job. I actually think that that's some form of feminism, to be so caught up in, I have to have this career, and I have to have this, and I have to that. It's a distraction. The enemy loves that, but it's a total distraction. I think that anxiety is what feminism is all about for what they want. They want you to be anxious. They want you to be on antidepressants. They want you to be numb. They don't want you to feel. They don't want you to feel. So I want to release you from that. Don't shrink back. This world and this generation needs women who echo the gospel. This world needs women who are marked by the cross. So my mission for all of you, after you leave here, please go confuse the culture. Confuse the crap out of it. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that, but confuse them. Go and confuse them. Do not conform to it. Let them stare at you. Let them write the meanest Instagram comments. Let them wonder, let them whisper. And while they're doing all of that, because that's just noise, build your family. Go raise a family. Go build a life of holy defiance. Go love your husband. Go love your babies. Go teach your children how to blaze a trail of glory. Go lead in truth and go be the light. You don't have time for their noise. Don't seek their applause. It's not even worth it. Not even worth it. Go fulfill your purpose, because you just need Jesus. That's all you need. So while the world is watching, heaven's cheering for you, cheering you on, because just like the women before you, that blueprint, God is within you, and you will not fail. You guys are so loved. I'm so proud of you. Pour into each other this weekend. Get everything you can out of this weekend. You're sitting in that chair for a reason, that exact chair. That person that's sitting right next to you was meant to sit right next to you. I'm not telling you how to figure out why. But just know that nothing is by mistake. Nothing. I will never forget the time I was in Israel with my husband. Well, that was the second time, but the first time with my mother on a pilgrimage. And I was standing in the ticket line. And I remember looking behind me, and in the snake of the ticket line was a guy who looked very familiar. I had no idea who he was. And I told my mom, this guy looks so familiar. And as a typical mother, she said, go and say hi. No. We were late for our flight, and I'm not going to come off like a crazy person that's just weird. That ended up being Charlie. Nothing is by coincidence. Now, did we know that? No, not until we were like 3 months into our relationship and looking at timestamps, seeing that both of us were in Israel at the same time. But nothing is by coincidence when God is within you, okay? So you guys go blaze a trail, okay? God bless you all.